Hello readers, and thank you for joining me for another spelling lesson. This week we are in SAVVAS MyView Literacy Unit 3, Lesson number 2 for 3rd grade. Our focus this week is going to be on abbreviations, and of course our story is Granddaddy's Turn, a journey to the ballot box, a really important story. I hope you enjoy it. But as we get started on abbreviations, I know we did abbreviations last year in 2nd, but I still want to review them again. The abbreviation rule is, here's an example. When we read an address, we might say road or boulevard. But when we write it, we can use the abbreviation for the word. Road would become capital RD, period, and it's capital when there's a name with it. And boulevard would become capital BLVD, period. An abbreviation is a short form of a word. An abbreviation should begin with a capital letter when it's part of a proper noun. So if you're just saying the word road, that wouldn't be capital. But if I'm saying Center Road, and that's the name of it, then you would capital at that point in time. Most abbreviations end with a period. Most does not mean all. Some of the ones today don't have periods for every word, and you'll see that. And while we do use abbreviations when we write, if we're reading it, usually we use the whole word. And I'm going to add the word usually there because for some of the ones today that we're going to do, we don't usually say the whole word. We usually say just the abbreviation. So you'll see them and we'll talk about them as we get to them. But if that's enough time, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go through our routine. We know our routine. We say the word. We map the sounds. Of course, we count it. And then we say the word. Then we spell it. And when we spell it, remember we smash it and then we say the word. And then we're going to write the word. We're not going to circle anything on these. We're just going to practice writing the abbreviation correctly. Are you ready? Let's get started. Our first one is AM. Say AM. That's a time one for in the morning, usually before noon. And after midnight, map the sounds. AM. Pretty simple. Spell it. A period M period. AM. And write it. A, capital A, period, capital M, period. Our next one is boulevard. Say boulevard. That's an interesting word. Of course, remember that. This is one of the ones we actually say the whole word, but when we abbreviate it, we can shorten it. It's capital when it's with a street name, when it's an actual name. Map the sounds. B, O, L. V, R, D, boulevard. Spell it. Capital B, L, V, D, period. Boulevard. And of course, remember, it's only going to be capital if it's the actual name of a street. Write it. Capital B, L, V, D, and don't forget your period. Our next word is etc. Say etc. I bet a lot of you have seen that before and you knew that it meant something was continuing, but you didn't know it was actually pronounced etc. That's an interesting word. Let's map those sounds. Et, s, et, etc. Spell it. E-T-C period etc. And write it. E-T-C period. Our next one is number. Say number. Of course, you see we write it N-O period. Map the sounds. N, b, number. Spell it. N-O period, number, and write it. N-O, period. And this is not capital because it's not part of a name. It's not part of a proper noun. Our next one is PM. Say PM. We know that's afternoon. Map the sounds. P, M. PM. Spell it. Capital P, period, capital M, period. and write it. Capital P, period, capital M, period. Some people do informally write it with lowercase, but we're going to stick with the uppercase. Our next one is ASAP. Say ASAP. We know that means as soon as possible. Map the sounds. A, S, A, P. ASAP. Spell it. A, S, A, P. ASAP. And write it. Make sure it's all caps. Capital A, capital S, capital A, capital P. Our next word is PS. Say PS. Map the sounds. P, S, S, P. Actually, it would be just the letter names. P, S. And that means postscript for a little extra information, because you usually add it to a letter or a note after you've written it. Spell it. Capital P, period, capital S, period, P-S. And write it. Capital P, period, capital S, period. Next is the word road. Say road. Map the sounds. Ode, road. And spell it. Capital R, D, period, road. And we're going to have it capital here because we're going to assume it's a proper noun. And let's write it. Capital R, D, period. Our next word is weight. Say weight. And this has to do with pounds and ounces, not with, hey, wait a minute. Sounds the same, different word. Map the sounds. W-A-T. Weight. And spell it. W-T, period, weight. And write it. W-T, period. Our next one is verses. Say verses. Map the sounds. V, s, s. Verses. Spell it. V, s, period, verses. And write it. V, s, period. Lowercase, of course. It's not a proper noun. All right, let's do our two high frequency words, which are not abbreviations. Our first one is building. Say building. Map the sounds. B, I, L, D, I, ng. Building. Let's spell it. B, U, I, L, D, I, N, G. Building. And now write it. B, U, I, L, D, I, N, G. And our last word this week is the word ocean. Say ocean. Map the sounds. O, sh, I, n. Ocean. Spell it. O, C, E, A, N. Ocean. And write it. O, C, E, A, N. That's our last word this week. Thanks for staying until the end. Until next time, happy reading.